how's it going? It's That Nerd Ryan here, and today we are reviewing Miss Marvel. It's now 11 o'clock at night. I finally finished it, and I'm dead tired. So it's probably not going to be as long as a review as most of my Marvel stuff has been, because we're going to hit the basics, and I started watching the show before I started doing the recording, like, notes and everything. So I did like a quick little note sheet here of like the scores and then my theories that I did. So for those of you who this is your first time coming, what we do is we kind of analyze really quick what I think of the show, and then I give 5 different scores and then do an overall score. And then we'll talk spoilers for a bit, and then we talk about my 5 last-minute theories, which ones I got right, which ones I got wrong, and then I score myself on that. So, Miss Marvel is the now 6th, I believe, MCU show that's been released on Disney Plus, and that ties in directly to the MCU. Introduces a new character, Kamala Khan, played fabulously by Iman Valian. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And by far, she is the highlight of the show. She really embodies this character. I've seen interviews with her and everything, and she truly is naturally Kamala Khan, so that is perfect. But yeah, she's awesome. However, the story does suffer a little bit. It loses. I personally, I lost interest after about 2 episodes, and then the last episode got me back in, so kind of like half of the episodes were good, the other half were kind of a little, like, they had good action and stuff like that and good scenes, but it was just, it kind of turned into background noise. And I don't know if it was just like a mood I was in or something like that, but yeah, it was kind of hit or miss. I think really what happened, and I really hate to say this, was the first 3 episodes were also coming out while Kenobi was coming out. So I think I was excited with Kenobi and watching both of them at the same time. And then when Kenobi ended, literally the last 2 episodes today for me recording this, in the last week, I completely forgot that it was Wednesday until like halfway through the day. And I'd be like, oh shoot, I gotta watch Miss Marvel. Oh shoot, I gotta go and get comics. Like, stuff like that. Like, didn't realize what day it was and everything like that. And that kind of, to me, showed that I wasn't really excited for the show. I was probably more excited for Obi-Wan. But again, that's just me. If you're a big Marvel fanboy, that's bigger than me, which is very hard to see, you probably had a different experience every Wednesday with this show than I did. But yeah, I mean, I was excited. I would always, because Star Wars is my favorite, I'd always prioritize Kenobi over Miss Marvel. But I still was excited to see it each week, because I mean, new Marvel content, anytime, perfect. But yeah, so without getting into the story, let's give the rankings. So for cinematography, I did give it a 8 out of 10. There's some really creative choices on like showing like texts and stuff like that, and just artwork and everything. It's very beautiful cinematography, which can also fall into VFX, but VFX we'll talk about in a minute. Script, I gave it a 7 out of 10 because, like I said, there's points where I'm just kind of like zoning out and whatever. Story, I also gave a 6 out of 10 just because of, again, and I did realize something that I wanted to bring up in a separate video, but I don't think this is enough content for a separate video, so I'll bring it up here. For the story, and I'm not saying like this is the same exact story as Falcon and the Winter Soldier or WandaVision or whatever, but the story beats basically have always been the same in every show. And I mean, it was the same in Moon Knight, same in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, same in WandaVision, where like you build up all this stuff for the first 4 episodes, or for WandaVision's case, the first 7 episodes. You build it all up, and then you literally just slam on the brakes for the second to last episode and do all the exposition and backstory. And like, it was okay for me for WandaVision. Falcon the Winter Soldier, I was like, alright. Loki, I was like, okay, yeah. Um, and I think when Moon Knight came out, Hawkeye. Hawkeye kind of didn't do that, because, I mean, we didn't really need a established backstory. They did do the backstory on certain characters. They showed it for, like, a quarter of the episode or something, if I remember right. But Moon Knight did it, like, completely did it. And I go, oh my god, they need to stop doing this. And I remember last week I was joking. I was like, oh yeah, they ended it, episode 4 with a vision. They're going to do the whole backstory about everything again. And I was just saying that as a joke, and it happened again. So that has been my main complaint with every Marvel Disney Plus series. And it's kind of like, you know, when you're a teacher, or you had a teacher, and the first time you made a mistake, they let it slide and everything, but they talk about it. And then you still keep doing it, and they start docking points. That's what I'm doing with this, because the story is 6 out of 10, because it is very much just repeating what happened before it. And I don't think it's the directors. I don't think it's anything like that. I just think Disney thought they found a formula, and they're just repeating it just to have like that safety net of, okay, well, everything else was like this, so I think it'll work. But yeah, no, change it up a little. I'm sick of the second to last episode being like that. Characters, I gave it 8 out of 10. I think everybody did a very amazing job. There are some characters where they kind of stood out as not very acty, I guess is the best way to say it. But I mean, for the main cast did really good. Supporting cast, some of them were okay. For VFX, I also gave a 5 out of 10. Something that really, really kind of, like I said, the artwork effects and everything like that were great. But in most of Kamala's powers were great visually. But like during the ending fight scene, I was watching it and I just remember all the VFX that were happening and everything, and I just go, this is like C-movie VFX, and this is kind of like distracting. But yeah, so that averaged it to an overall score of 6.8. Now, this isn't my least favorite MCU show. I think What If is still pretty not my cup of tea. It's not my favorite. But in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it falls around the same as Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was low for me because it just, looking back, it felt like literally something we just saw. When we watched it come out, it was great because it was like, oh yeah, I haven't seen a Marvel thing like this in 2 years or whatever because of the pandemic. But then it's like, then Black Widow comes out and you're like, Black Widow and Falcon and the Winter Soldier feel the same. Feels cookie cutter. And this felt like it felt fresh and different for Miss Marvel, but it also at the same time, it's weird. It felt like it was a cookie cutter, but it also felt new and fresh and different. Kind of like if, I guess the best way to say it is if you bought a remastered video game that you've played as a kid, you're like, oh yeah, or actually, here we go. Want to compare it to Diamond and Pearl versus Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. It's the exact same thing. It's just got a fresh coat of paint on it that makes it look different enough for you to be like, okay, yeah, this is kind of cool that it's different, but I mean, I could just be playing Diamond and Pearl without the glitches. But yeah, so I could just be playing Platinum. There we go. That's the better comparison. But yeah, so I don't want to be harsh on it because I thought it was a good show, but I don't know if I'm starting to get superhero fatigue. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. So now, we're going to do just a quick spoiler discussion. Because, I mean, stuff happens at the end that is very important to the implications of the MCU that we do have to talk about, and it also affects my theory video, so we do have to talk about that. Um, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk spoilers for about 2 minutes. So thank you guys for watching. If you're going to cut out here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and follow me on all my social media down below. Other than that, let's talk about spoilers. So Kamala finds out her powers when she puts on this bangle that she gets from her grandmother that was her great grandmother's. And it turns out that it gives her powers to control, like, light, I guess, and manipulate it, kind of Green Lantern style in a sense, but also not, because it engulfs her body. So while she's trying to figure out, this is where I mean, like, episode 2, nothing really big happens. Episode 3, they have, like, a cool fight scene at a wedding, but nothing really big happens. Then the 4th episode, they go to Pakistan to talk to her grandma about the bracelet and everything. And during that, actually in the 2nd episode, they explain it, is that they're Jinn, or also known as clandestine. So we're sitting there thinking, okay, they're not inhuman. They don't want to use that. That's kind of a taboo word. I completely understand. But yeah, the whole time with the clandestine thing, I thought that, like, somebody was going to turn around and be like, they're technically inhuman compared to us, or something like that, like allude to them being called inhuman. But we never get that or anything like that, which there's a reason why later on. But yeah, no. So this is where, like, I didn't really care for the villain. If you can even say that there was a villain. Both villains, the DODC woman and the head Jinn, both kind of weren't interestingly written. They weren't, I mean, like, the fact that the clandestine leader was a mother to Cameron, that was, like, her only thing, and that she wanted to bring her world into 616. And it's like, okay, so we're doing Malekith again, which, yeah, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel talking about Malekith. And, like, stuff like that. I was like, she's not that interesting. I mean, they could have made her so much more interesting, but they don't. And then the DODC woman, they're like, yeah, she's just kind of racist, but at the same time, not. And it's like, okay, I don't even remember these people's names because they're so uninteresting. I'm sorry. But yeah, and then in episode 4, at the end of it, she gets teleported back in time, which I originally thought was a vision. And at this point of the show, I was kind of using it as background noise. So I didn't realize it until episode 5, when most of the episode you don't see Kamala at all. And then, like, they change it up. She is actually went through time, created a time loop, and everything like that. And then her parents find out that she's got powers. And then episode 6 happens, and this was another part of the story where it felt forced. Like, the ending of episode 5 could have been the finale. It really could have. But I felt like they wrote episode 6 for 3 reasons, and 3 reasons only. One is because they had to. Because most Marvel shows are 6 episodes. I felt like they had to do it. Next one being, they needed to give Kamala her costume. And the third being, they needed to do the big announcement at the end of the episode. The 2 big announcements at the end of the episode. So they could have padded out episode 5 a little more, maybe gave a little more backstory. I know I was just complaining about it, but, like, in the writing head, maybe gave a little bit more backstory about the clandestine. Like, maybe actually start with the great-grandmother being in her land, then coming over. And then made the whole final fight about the main villain woman and Kamala. And then the costume, that could have literally been like the last thing the mom gives it to her, because we're gonna see her in the Marvels, we know that. And then they could have done the post-credit scene still, and then they could have also done what we're about to talk about, all on episode 5, if they just padded it out and added it. Because like the whole thing didn't really feel like it really needed it, at least in my opinion. And then we get episode 6 with the big fight that they're fighting DODC and Cameron for a little bit, because Cameron can't control his new powers that they never explain to anybody, and you just imply, like, literally the end of the episode, the main villain dies, and it looks like her spirit shot into Cameron, and they never explain it from there. So, like, I don't know if that's what was going on or whatever. But yeah, so, like, that was confusing. And then the whole fight, like, it's like, okay, why is this fight necessary? Besides showing that Kamala can be a hero, which, again, they could just show that in an extended ending of episode 5. But yeah, and then the fight ends, Kamran gets away, and Kamala is gifted, in the episode early on, Kamala is gifted her costume by her mom. Sorry, I was thinking my rewrite in my head. But yeah, so she's had her costume, everything. Meets up with her friend, Bruno, who analyzed her DNA, and turns out Kamala is a mutant. Not an inhuman, a mutant. And literally when that happened, I went like that. For 2 reasons. 1, because I knew that was one of my theories. And 2, because I was like, finally we have mutants in the MCU. And then we go to the post-credit scene where she somehow magically switches places with Brie Larson. Again, I knew that I predicted that. So yeah. And we also get to see Kamala in Big N, which I forgot that was a theory, but I got that one right too. But yeah, but when she said in Big N, I got excited, because I mean, like, I understood that we didn't need this fight, but at the same time, I also was like, okay, this is a cool fight, and then the VFX kind of messed it up. But oh well. But yeah, so that's the spoiler talk. Let's talk about the theories. So my first one was that they were going to say that Kamala is a mutant, which was correct. The next one was that if she wasn't a mutant, which I'm going to still say that this was part of the theory, that there'd be an intro to another mutant, which, I mean, that is completely wrong. There is no other mutant in it, at least that we know of so far. Next was that Brie Larson or Monica Rambeau would appear. We got Brie Larson at the end. Then we have the powers being still called Embiggen, which she says Embiggen and then becomes giant, which actually exactly how I described it in the video is exactly what happened. And then the last was that it was going to have a Goonies feel, which it did not. So I got 3 out of my 5 theories right. I'm going to asterisk it and say 4 out of 5 because the Embiggen thing was right on the money, and so was the mutant. So I'm willing to say the other mutant part, I could say that I got that right. But yeah. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and follow me on all my social media down below. It's that nerd Ryan telling you, have an amazing day.